Back with you folks. It's one of the highlights of my life to come back here in September and to be where my family originally came from. A little bit late today because I've made some acquaintances with some other family members that are sitting here on the front row from Canyon City, Colorado, and found out that we're relatives, distant cousins. I was joking today and saying I hope we're not kissing cousins, but we kind of figured out we're maybe second or third cousins once removed. If anybody can figure out what all that means, but we're all related to this gentleman here, Daniel Noonan McIntosh. So last year I talked just a little bit about my grandfather, Chief Dode McIntosh. And there is a small display out here in the room on to the right as you go out, Chief Dode McIntosh, and you can see that display. He was my grandfather. And Daniel Noonan was his great grandfather. So he's my great-great-grandfather, just gentleman's great-great-grandfather also. You need to come up and meet them because it's rare that we have direct ancestors. Now there's a lot of ancestors of McIntosh, but not many that are directly in line still carrying the name McIntosh, which meant that there was boys born all the way through. You may recall, some of you, maybe it's brand new to others of you, but Chief William was a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, and the chief, because his mother was Sonoy, and she was full-blood Creek of the Wind Clan of Coweta Town. The Wind Clan was the chief clan, and Coweta was the chief town out of about 50 Creek towns. And so, because of his mother, Sonoy, he was in direct line to be a chief, and indeed he was eventually elected chief of Coweta Town. So it's just always great to come back here. But to find boys that were born all the way through, sometimes people say, well, how do you have a Scottish name like McIntosh and still native? A lot of Scottish men married into the Native American tribes, particularly in the southeast. And we could talk about that later, but there's a lot of Scottish names in the tribes. And so as long as there were boys born, the last name carried through, so McIntosh carried through. But because it was a matriarchal society and the culture went through the mother, and Sonoy was the main mother, then all the way down the boys have been able to be in the tribe and their families and actually to be chief. Today I thought I'd take just a little bit of time and talk about Daniel Noonan McIntosh. Please note the middle name is Noonan. In a lot of the history books it'll say Newman, M-A-N, and that's a mistake. Newman is a very common name. Noonan is not, and most history books will say Newman, and it's a mistake. His name was Noonan. He's named after the same person that Noonan, Georgia is named after, just a little bit over from our place here. So, just some quick background for those of you who are not familiar with the background, but the gentleman, of course, who came to the colony of Georgia in 1733, founded the town of Savannah, was James Oglethorpe. Now, the colony of Georgia was concerned about Florida because Florida was owned by the Spanish. And England and the Spanish were not friendly with each other. They were at war with each other. And so King George in England was always afraid that the Spanish in Florida were going to make their way up and attack the colony of Georgia. To protect the colony of Georgia, they asked James Oglethorpe to recruit some Scottish soldiers in the British Army to come to the colony of Georgia to defend the colony of Georgia from the Spanish in Florida. And so they came in 1736. They landed in Darien. And some of you have probably been over there. It's about 30 miles south of Savannah. Darien is where they landed. Some of the men were married with families, but many of them were single men. They did have a battle or two with the Spanish. The Scots won. The Spanish never were able to take over the colony of Georgia. For their service, King George gave them land grants in the colony of Georgia. And the McIntoshes were part of that group. And so in that land grant, Lieutenant Benjamin McIntosh had come. He lived from 1686 to 1740. He was the son of a famous brigadier general over in Scotland known as Old Boreham, or McIntosh of Boreham. There's a lot of William McIntoshes, Benjamin McIntoshes. You have to be very careful when you do history, because you got to, which William are you talking about? Which Benjamin are you talking about? And so they called him, McIntosh of Boreham. He actually fought in the Jacobite Rebellion, which was trying to put Bonnie Prince Charlie back on the throne of England. They lost. He was imprisoned in the castle in Edinburgh, Scotland, and he died there in that prison. His son, Lieutenant Benjamin, came with Oglethorpe to the USA.